to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq-100 index, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed on Nasdaq. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large cap growth and also one of the best performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining us this Friday afternoon, we have Ben Jones, Senior Specialist with Index Research and Development at Nasdaq Investment Intelligence, for an overview on Nasdaq-100 performance. We're also going to talk about some of the volatility that we saw and if we're oversold here. Ben, it's great to see you as always. Welcome back to Trade Talks.
Thanks, Jill. It's great to be on this week, and happy Friday.
Yes, happy Friday indeed. I'm sure for your team, especially as you guys follow the Nasdaq-100 index closely, certainly you've seen some volatility come back into the market since we last, actually we didn't meet last Friday, but since last Friday's sell-off. Oh,
for sure. Yeah, that low volume day right after Thanksgiving. We've seen a little bit of choppiness since then, but it's a happy Friday. It's not a happy market. And it's just this continuation of this choppiness. And today is no exception. If you just look at the past week, most of the major Nasdaq 100 related indexes, so that includes the NDX, the cap weighted version, but also our other indexes that track this space, X technology or just technology or equal weighted and momentum. They've all been, somewhat struggling. Just the Nasdaq 100 in general is off about, 5% or so weakness. But, if you take a long-term view, it's still positive, right? Going past, the past 5 months or so, we still see the Nasdaq 100 index in positive territory, up about 6%. This is down from, where it was back in mid-November, where over this time period, it was up, close to 13%. Where we have seen some weakness within the Nasdaq 100, especially, it's those non-technology names, and this is over this long-term period, those, X-tech companies, so to speak, have weakened. And we've also seen some of the momentum start to erode within the Nasdaq 100, just tracking the Nasdaq 100 Doors Right Index, which really looks at those high momentum names within that index. From a Q4 standpoint, still pretty strong returns across the board. But since mid-November, we've definitely seen a slide lower. And this is a lot of our indicators that we watch into oversold territory.
All right, and Ben, that's exactly the question here. What are your terms? What are you thinking in terms of when you look at the technicals and if it's an oversold territory?
Yeah, so we look across the board, and this is using data that's available through Nasdaq Dorsey Wright. And so if you look at their indicators, they are oversold. And you can look at it through a couple different lenses. First, it's looking at, what percent of companies within the Nasdaq 100 are 50-day moving average, right? That's a classic kind of long-term trend of just rising absolute price momentum, right? You're seeing short-term prices rise above their long-term averages. And right now, only like 34% of the Nasdaq 100 is trading above that, 150-day moving average. And so off from that about 88% in February of 2021. So that's almost 90% of the index was above that back then. We've just seen that steady move lower. So that means less breadth, less participation across the board. On that left-hand side chart, again, these are the point and figure charts available on Dorsey Wright. This tracks the percent of companies in the Nasdaq 100 on a buy signal on the Dorsey Wright system using their classic P&F charts, only about 34% as well. So you're really getting to that oversold level around 30%. Interesting thing is some of their studies says that, when you see reversals up from those low positions, it's an interesting opportunity for those, looking to, take long-term positions. So that's something to watch if you're looking to take advantage of this selling pressure and maybe a mean reversion. That said, if we look at what's been hanging on lately, what is resilient, you can rely on the Nasdaq Dorsey Wright relative strength matrices and their rankings, right? And it's still leaning towards tech. Those have been some of the names that are carrying the index right now and maybe carrying the market, right? NVIDIA, Tesla, Advanced Micro Devices, Intuit, Marvell Technology. Those are some of the companies ranked in the top 10 of the Nasdaq Dorsey Wright Nasdaq 100 relative strength matrix.
All right, Ben, we appreciate the insight as always. Thanks for joining us on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.